Hi all, Tug here from the Fishers and I. Hope you're safe and well. So today what I wanted to do is sort of a continuation in the series on my pedal board and rundown. And today I wanted to go through buffers. Now when I was building the board, I sort of wanted to make sure that I didn't have any sort of tone loss. So I'm trying to use the best cables, which we went through last week, best cables that work best for me. And taking the advice of Mason at the Vertex Effects, his Rig Doctor channel. I put links in description to his channel. I sort of took his advice on having a buffer at the start of the pedal board and at the end, so though I didn't have any sort of tone loss. So he always bangs on about it in his videos about how important it is, and I think nobody's under any dispute that obviously if you've got long cable runs or pedals that aren't true bypass or using a low quality buffer, obviously a buffer's in the signals path is kind of vital. You don't want any loss of high end, sorry. So I thought, right, okay, well, let's do it. When I approached this board, I wanted to do it as the best as I could, and taking his advice, I put one at the start and one at the end, as I say. Now, but what I haven't done is just to, as a real world experiment, is okay, well, what is the buffer actually doing to my signal? Is it benefiting my pedal board? So I'm going to do a little experiment today. We'll duck into the board, show you the two buffers I use, and then I'm going to set up a little experiment and then show you on the DAW on a spectrum analyzer what is happening when the buffers are engaged as opposed to when the buffers aren't in the signal flow. So I hope it'll be interesting, certainly for me, because I've not actually done it myself, so it'll be interesting to see if I've got these sort of two buffers on the board, are they actually doing anything. Yeah, okay, we'll duck in. So I have two buffers on my board, the first being the Empress Effect Buffer Plus. Now they do three models, I believe. One's a more basic form, this is the middle one, and then they do a bigger one with more functions on it. They served me great, because it's got so many good little features. First, obviously, it's a buffer at the heart of it, but also it's a boost button. So I can't remember how many dBs it can go up to, but it's a really clean, doesn't colour your sound at all boost. It's a really, for want of a better word, transparent boost. It literally does not colour the sound, and there's nice soft switching as well. So it's a really good boost pedal in its own right. Now, guitar comes in, and if you want to run it straight as a buffer, guitar in there, and then out is the amp to the amp there. Now I've got it rigged up on the Quartermaster. As I said in the rig rundown, the Beano Boost really doesn't like the buffers before it's being germanium parts, so I had to put it in loop 2. So when I engage that, when the rig's running, that buffer's engaged. Obviously if I want to run the boost, then I press that on as a separate entity. Now what's really handy with these Empress, the Buffer Plus one, is that it's got this loop out, so you can have several pedals in a chain and it'll pass the same buffer through those loop of pedals and then back in and again straight out to your amp. So it really worked for me because it gave me an extra place on the run of pedals. So if, say, I want to have the compressor on, I can have that on, and then that just runs independently, coming back into the same loop. So it's really handy to have that loop. It sort of allowed me for another pedal in the chain, basically. So really handy. The other thing it has is a tuner out, so that I've got wired coming around to here. You can either, when 2's engaged, the signal comes to 2 through the pedal, and it also runs the tuner as well. if I want a silent tune, then basically you just hold down that. When the red light's on, you've got silent tuning. So that's really good. So you don't, it's not in the loop of your run. So if you've got a tuner pedal that maybe sucks your tone, or you don't like its buffer, some tuner pedals are buffered, then it basically takes it out of the loop, so it's just its own separate send to the tuner pedal. So that's really handy. It's a good tuner, that one. I didn't particularly find any sort of sound loss or tone loss through that one, but it's handy to keep it out of the loop. Again, you're saving space on, say, a switcher, so you're not taking up a valuable out or a valuable loop, basically. So that's the Empress. And then over here, my outlets on the ABY. Now these are buffered outputs as well. You can choose on output B whether it's buffered or not, or true bypass. Sorry, on loop A rather, you can choose to run it through the buffered output or true bypass output. The output B is a buffered output, an isolated buffer output, and it's obviously got phase control as well on the GigRig stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So as an experiment, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a loop through just a simple chord, a loop through the looper there from EHX. It's going to pass then through the quartermaster. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to engage all the pedals, so the bit it will run through the cables there from the Beano boost back in. I'm going to bypass the number 2 because obviously that's got the buffer in, so we're going to do an experiment really to see what effect the buffers have on the signal and on your tone. So I'm going to engage 1, 3, which is the tumnus, so that's the run from there and back. 4, which is the vertex through and back. 5 I'll leave out because that sends the signal over to the ABY, which is where the other buffers are, so I'll bypass that on the first run, and then I'll run through 6, which will lead up through the Terraform and the phase 95 Nemesis delay, Hall of Fame, so it'll run through all those connections there. Now what I've done, I've put on a 12-foot cable running from the Hall of Fame back into the loop at 6, and then another 12-foot cable back to the amp, the Tone King there. So all in all, it'll be 36 lengths of cable, 36 foot of cable, should I say, running from that to the amp, and obviously from my guitar to the pedal. So that's 36 foot, and then whatever these little joins all add up to be. So we'll do a run through that first, and then I'll do the same again but engage the buffers. Okay, so let's have a little look, see what's occurring on this spectrum analyzer. I recorded one up the top here, follow my mouse, that's without the buffer, and then on this one it's with the buffer. So I shall play the top one. So this is without the buffer. Excuse the wobbly phone, I'm trying to hold it. So this is without the buffer. I'll just put it on a little loop. Is with the buffer. This is with the buffer. Okay, so I don't know about you, and I know sort of the signal over YouTube is not the best and the compression and what have you, but I'm finding that hard to tell the difference. So okay, so yeah, let's have a little look on the spectrum analyzer. So I've just brought up the SPAN plugin, which is, as I say, just a analyzer of signals basically. So let's play the without, and what I'm going to do, it's got a hold function on this. I'll try and hold it in the same spot when the notes ring out, and hold it so we can then compare the frequencies. So this is the without, which is the one on the left. Tell I've not done this, so the one on the right is hitting just a little bit. Just trying to see from the wavelength, see what's. That's interesting. I had the mic in exactly the same position on the amp, so I close mic'd it. You'll agree, it's having very little difference. So pretty much the buffers aren't doing an awful lot on the signal. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. I'm quite shocked actually. I felt in the room when it was playing, the loop was playing, and through the two different versions, I felt like the buffer sounded clearer. It was a bit more high-end presence, but I don't know. Perhaps that was psychosomatic. You know, perhaps I just in my head that I thought it would be different. You know. But as we see on the spectrum analyzer, they're both sort of rising to the similar sort of peaks. The source was the same, the mic was in exactly the same, so there was no other variables. You know, it wasn't like I played one chord at one time and then through, you know, it was exactly the same chord played through the same looper through, you know, through the two versions. So yeah, really interesting. I'm quite shocked by that. So what can we sort of conclude from that? I mean, it's one of two things really. Okay, I don't need the buffers. The buffers aren't doing anything on my board. That's one conclusion. Could we say, okay, if I extended the length of cable, would it make a difference? I think inevitably it would make a difference at that point. Maybe if, I don't know, if we doubled that length of lead, would it make a difference? I would say yes, it's got to, isn't it? You know, but do we say, okay, well, I don't need the buffer because the cables that I use are good? So is that a credit to the low capacitance of the Boss cables? And then the guitar leads that I use, they are Megami, the 3368, so it's good cables and they're all low capacitance. So is it a championing those cables? Are they sort of the negating the use of using a buffer? Is it that I really haven't got that many pedals on the board and the you know, the runs on each pedal aren't that long, so it's not really making much of a difference to the signal? I don't know. Yeah, what to make of it. That's something that's genuinely surprised me. But anyway, I hope you found it interesting. And then if you're obviously you're looking at buffers for your board and asking yourself, do you really need it? I would honestly say that probably the best thing to do is, okay, plug into your amp directly, try and have a way of recording it or make a mental note of, okay, it sounds like this, and plug in through your pedal board and into your amp. Is there, you know, with no pedals on, is there a big difference? You know, can you hear a big difference in quality of tone? then maybe that'd be your answer as to, okay, right, perhaps I'll put one on. Yeah, I'm genuinely shocked. I hope you found it interesting anyway. So what I'm going to do the next video, I'm going to show you some of the different guitars that I've got. And then if you're looking at these guitars, then maybe it help your decision. That's all I'm trying to do on the channel, is help you along the way of pedal boards, because I know what a minefield it is, and what a huge rabbit hole. So if I can help anybody along the way, then that'd be great. Yeah, so I'll see you next time, and we'll start through the different guitars I've got. Okay, take care. Bye for now.